Hello and Happy New Year! We've got a couple of goals around the farm that we want to accomplish this year, and I'll show you what they are real quick because it's a gloomy day and James had to work until 3 o'clock in the morning, so today is more of a dreaming day rather than a doing day. One of the first things that we want to get done is to fully take down this tree. It's pretty huge. It does offer a fair amount of shade in the spring and summer and early fall, but you can kind of see there used to be a branch there, and if I go around the corner, there used to really be a large branch there, but it was rotted. You can kind of see way up there that the inside of that branch is completely rotted out. And it keeps dropping branches. So for the safety of everybody involved, I think we're going to take the whole thing down. I would like a professional to do it. My can-do husband wants to do it himself, so we'll see what happens with that. Another thing that we want to do on the farm is to move our electric fence. So you can kind of see we've started this process. All the wires have been taken off. The goats have got their temporary fencing in this area right now. There's plenty of grass for them to eat, plenty of space for them to roam around, and safety. Plenty of rocks for them to jump on, which apparently they're loving, so that's good. Ultimate goal is to have the fencing for livestock kind of meet the barn and go flat across there. James has a bit of a gun range set up there, so he wants to have that kind of dedicated. And it would be just nice to have a little bit of space over here. I'm thinking about putting kind of an orchard / berry patch over here, so that would be kind of fun to do. But it's an undetermined area, but we for sure want to move the fence line. With moving the fence line back, we're obviously going to have to move the water trough back. Forgive us, we have no animals right now drinking out of it. It is not well maintained. So we want to move the water trough. Obviously, it's going to be inside the livestock area. We did have an issue with this last spring where it sprung a leak. So you can see we put a Band-Aid on it basically. So we might just have to replace the water trough in total instead of just moving this one. Honestly, the process of moving this one might just break it. So we're going to start with a financially conservative option of trying to move it and then move up with the necessity. Along with moving the water trough, we're going to have to move the water spigot because there is no running water inside the barn. So there's a lot of issues with this one. I'll flash back, but it broke. That's not supposed to be doing that. Oh, goody. It froze and there was water leaking out of it. The reason for that is because whoever installed it before us didn't install it deep enough. You're supposed to be able to install these guys, I think it's 2 feet underground, and it won't freeze. This guy is probably 6 inches underground, 6 inches. So with that being said, we want to move the water pipe down to the barn so that we have water in the barn and to the hopefully new location of the water trough. If you guys saw our Stormageddon video, we didn't have any water in the barn, so we had to truck water not from this spot, but all the way along the house. So it's a nice long trot to bring water down there. It'd just be more convenient and easier and better for the animals if we had water in the barn. We have added spigots to the house, the outside of the house, because our house is from the 50s, did not have water spigots originally. So we added those to the outside of the house. Per the plumber, it's not that expensive or hard to do, but we would have to take water spigot from the house, and figure out how to trench the asphalt driveway, which we do want that replace, but that's not a this year goal, all the way down here. With that, we've got a lot of boulders because we live in a very rocky area. So not only are we going to have to bring the water from the house underneath the driveway, we're going to have to get it through these large boulders to the house. Again, that might be a professional job, but we're probably going to at least start to attempt it ourselves. Another thing we want to do is to place a gate by our barn. So, like I said, we probably want to make our electric fence for livestock go straight across to the edge of where it currently is, kind of where it used to be a chicken coop. So kind of where the chicken coop used to be. Previously, we just had an electric fence or an electric wire with a little hook to act as our gate. And it was a pain. So there used to be two of these guys. You would unhook it, flip over both sides, and then just walk through. And then you have to go over and you find it, and you blah, 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 blah. I want a gate. I want something a little bit more secure, a little more permanent. And then there was also this little space here between this post and the barn. Didn't stop any of the dogs, so it could not stop all kinds of animals going through there. The cows appreciated it. The goats don't. So that is on our list of more permanent, better entrances to the livestock fields. Another thing that we want to do, since I'm down here at the barn, we want to make a more sturdy floor for the goat pen. Right now it's currently covered in hay because these ungrateful little goats don't like what we've given them, but underneath the hay it's just dirt. So we're thinking about putting a little bit of concrete in there, mixing it all up, making sure it's a little bit more sturdy. It'll be a lot easier to clean out that way. And so, better for the goats. Huh, Carmen? Something else we want to do is to put another gate on what I call the horse corner. So here it is. This is not our property, so where the fence line is, that is our neighbor's property, and I call it the horse corner because they've got a couple of mini horses as well as a donkey. You can't really see them up there, but they do tend to hang out over there. So we want another gate similar to the area by the barn. It's an electric fence, and you just flip it over and you access the field that way. I want something a little bit more permanent and a little bit easier to use. Open and shut the gate. Something we want to do on the back side over here is to have 3 different chicken coops. Why do we need 3? Because we are going to have some dedicated egg layers, so we don't want any boys mixing in with that. And then we are going to have a chicken coop that we're going to have our meat chickens in. We're going to raise our own meat chickens, and we're going to keep breeding our meat chickens. We're going to be very self-sustainable here. So we need to have a place for the roosters once the females start setting and brooding and raising their chicks, just so that everybody's nice and safe and nothing bad happens. But this is where we're going to do it. So you can see the goats are taking their job very seriously. They're trying to clear the area a little bit for us. Yes, she is standing on something and eating all of the vines off of the wall. Good job, team. But over here we had an old coop from the previous owners. The bottom of it is falling apart, and through all of the gaps in the ground, we have wild animals living in there. So definitely needs to be patched up and repaired before we can put anything in there. We did use this area, I'll take a better shot of it. We did use this area as a chicken area for a little bit, but the bottom of it, it's got something really weird going on in there. James thinks that somebody buried a car, like full on buried a car in there, because every once in a while the chickens would scrape up something, and it's not very pretty. So that worked for a little bit. So we'll try that area again. All right, here's inside this chicken barn that we made. We put up some boxes so they can roost, but you can also see the weird random stuff on the ground. So yes, this needs some love before we put our birds over here again. And then with this area, as you can see, there's a lot of trees, and if we really want to have 3 separate areas, and you just saw a goat escape on live TV. Ah, okay then. Well, excuse me while I go deal with that. This is why they have collars on. With this area, with the potential 3rd structure, we're going to have to probably remove some trees. This one is a pecan tree, and I love pecans, but all the other ones can be removed. With that being said about the chicken coops, they're going to be semi-permanent because we're going to redo this structure. We call it the tractor barn. We put enough air in the tires for the tractor for it to actually run appropriately, and you might be able to see that the tractor no longer fits in the tractor barn. You can see as we come up to it, the roll bar on the back of it doesn't fit in the tractor barn. Plus, it's kind of falling apart. It's not all that great. It moves if you bump it gently with the tractor. So this is a future goal. Definitely not in the next year, unless we win the lottery. That may not happen because we're not actually playing the lottery. But, you know, a girl can dream. But redoing the tractor barn, which is where our chicken coops are going to be attached to, is a dream. So our chicken coops are going to be semi-permanent. I'm pretty sure the biggest thing we're going to accomplish in the next year is the garden area. As you can tell, it's kind of a train wreck right now. We are going to, meaning my parents who are coming out in April, yay, and my husband, we are going to turn this into kind of like a dream garden. You see those ones on Instagram and YouTube? I'm going to have one of those. So, just, you can imagine boxes, raised planters. We're going to have, you know, an actual arch instead of just a hay round on its side. Although, I have to say, working with what I had, it worked really well for what I had. And hopefully it's not just going to be this area, it's going to be extended. I'm not sure if it's going to extend that way or if we're going to extend it this way. This way kind of makes more sense. It's a little bit more private, but it is down a small slope. Okay. So, I'm not sure if there's rocks in the way of doing a nice structure because, as you can see, there are rocks everywhere. But yes. So that's the biggest one I think that you guys are going to see. And honestly, most of these I want to be done before April, before spring comes around. I am a short-term goal person because if I think about those big goals, I get a little overwhelmed and just get sad because they're not going to happen fast enough for me. So I'm thinking of only the things in the next like 5 to 6 months that we can accomplish feasibly. like I was saying about having that tractor barn done, we want it done, but it's not going to be done within the next 12 months for sure. So I'm doing all the other things, thinking about cutting down the trees that are in the area, putting up a better chicken coop for our chickens, that type of thing. Things that we can actually accomplish in the spring, winter and early spring. When we get this dream garden up and running, we also will need more permanent water. We have water coming from the house right over there, but I don't have a hose that's long enough, and especially if we extend the garden towards the horse property, the hoses aren't going to work. So that will be, again, digging a hole, a trench, bringing a water spigot to this area, and having something a little bit more permanent. I'm okay with that. I like it. In my dream garden, I also will have some type of sink to wash things off out here, so having a spigot as well as a sink would be awesome. And I'm still dreaming about the final plans of the garden, but they're pretty extravagant. And I have to say my team of workers are very willing to help me out with that. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, James. Thanks, Mom. Alright, stay tuned to see if we can actually accomplish any of these goals. Woohoo!